Good morning, sweethearts. How y'all doing? Happy Sunday. How y'all feeling? Are you feeling the bliss? Are you feeling the intensity? Are you feeling the magic? As you can see, it's just, look at it. It's just, the sun should be rising here in a little bit. So today, let's talk about dark. I got asked a question, and it's really helpful to understand, sweet ones, there is no one direct absolute answer for anything. The only absolute in this world is peace. And humanity has been enslaved to live in absolutes, black or white. And the question, I was actually asked like 5 questions by this gal, and they were, why do so many people have different descriptions on what darkness is? Why do the so-called enlightened seem so uncaring, or so cold and removed? And then the other ones were just basic ones. Now let's address those two. I'm going to address the second one first. It's not that we are uncaring. It's not that we are robotic. It's really helpful to understand that darkness resides within you. Now, everything in the physical, linear space of time, if you will, is a polarity. And if anything in this outside world is observed through the perception, whether it's a murderer, whether it's rapist, whether it's corruption, this, that, or the other, those are all frequency, those are all energies. And at some point in your existence, in your incarnations, whether it was this one or past ones, at some point in time, that has been an experience, and it has imprinted a memory. Now, good morning, Helena. Now, it's also helpful to understand that the more you observe the outside world and use it as a tool, rather than emotionally react to it and allow it to dictate your emotions, you will find that the more you face the darkness within, you look in the mirror and you see your own darkness. You see your own wounds. You see your own judgments, your own opinions, your own beliefs. The more you deal with those and heal with those and transform that energy, you raise yourself into higher frequencies. When you raise yourself into higher frequencies, those things that you have zero-pointed and neutralized and harmonized literally fall away. You can be standing next to somebody and you can see a rainbow and they see nothing. You can see starships. All they see is clouds. You know, you can be getting eaten up by bugs, mosquitoes. You can, and the person next to you, it don't bother them. And you can be seeing a gang fight, and the person next to you, they don't see it at all. Why is that? Because the higher in frequency you evolve yourself to, that stuff falls away. It cannot sustain in the higher frequencies. You know, just like myself, I sit there and say that I live in a very blissful state. I see the things that I see first are codes, are numbers, are colors, are tones, is energy. And I have to adjust myself to see form. Now, the people that came to visit me, you know, they still operate a lot from the ego mind. And so they still see things that I don't see because they're not in my reality. Now, by the same token, they're like, how can you ignore this? You know, and how can you be so blind to what is going on in the world? It's not that we become blind to it, sweet ones. It's that energy flows, everything changes. And now I can sit there and I can bring myself into that frequency that they were in, and I can see and observe it with them. But by doing so, then I'm turning around and I'm bringing that energy back into my field. And then I'm going to have to sit there and I'm going to have to go through the process to remove it from my energetic field. And it's also helpful to understand that the higher in frequency you go and you do not see and observe that stuff physically in your reality, physical reality, if you will, it doesn't mean that we are not aware of it and do not observe it. Because those of us, especially the Blue Rays, especially the First Wavers, especially the Forerunners and the Gatekeepers, we sit on the, especially us commanders, we can see the higher level of frequency you go to, the more you are able to observe and see through a wider, expanded lens of perception, if you will. I can be at this frequency up here, and somebody can be at this frequency up here right next to me. And again, I'm going to use a gang fight, for example, and just because that was prevalent around here, about 20 miles away. And anyways, they can see the hatred and the anger, and they get affected by it, and another one that was around me, they get affected by cross-dressing, transgenderness, and this and that. But I don't see that. And it's not that I'm cold. It's just that you cannot be, how do you say this? When you're in it, and when you have transcended and zero-pointed and neutralized those things within you, those frequencies. Because it's helpful to understand, if you have experienced any kind of negative experience, traumatic experience, it is because at some point in past incarnations and this one, if you, like me, if I was raped in this time, more than likely, I was a controller, a rapist. In other words, you've put that energy out in a past lifetime. And so that's why we say perception is yours. That's why we say what you see in another exists in you. And the ego mind likes to shut us down from being able to see our own darkness and the own wounds, the old energetic patterns. And that's why the higher in frequency you rise to, the deeper into the abyss, if you will, that you go. Because your true state of being is deep, deep within. And so the higher you go, you go deeper into the layers, if you will, of your blueprint. Now, it's also helpful to understand that it's an eternal process of healing. There's layers within layers within layers within layers. And when you cannot observe your own layers within yourself, you're not able to change the frequency of the outside experience. And collectively, we've entered into a space of that Christ consciousness. Jesus never wanted to be worshipped. Jesus wanted humanity to live as he did, through his heart. And when you heal the darkness and the condensed light within yourself, and you evolve yourself to a higher frequency, everything literally does become love and contrast versus dark and light and duality and separation. You come to a space where and you move consistently into higher spaces if you are willing to face your own dark within you. Now, just as the truth is as fluid as the emotional frame of mind you maintain, so too is the dark that you maintain within you. That's why so many people have different levels and descriptions and labels of what darkness is. Now, every level you rise to in frequency, you're going to have to deal with different layers, if you will, of that darkness. And that's where the outside world shows you. That's how the experiences that you are going through show you. They trigger something within you. And as long as the mind programming of control and manipulation and power continues to convince you that this stuff exists because you're observing it, until you can use it and see it through it and see it for what it is, that it's a tool for you to heal something or transform something within you. And you come to a space where it's not that we're uncaring. It's just it's not part of our existence, because we have evolved past that frequency. We have evolved past those experiences. There is no longer a need for those lessons. Good morning, Angelica. Good morning, Lizette. Good morning, Marcus, Teresa, Shirley. And you come to a space where you can see it for what it is and know it for what it can be, and you choose to change what it is for what it can be. And just like there are many, let's use this for an example. There are many that still see chemtrails. But in my existence, I don't see them. And in my realm of frequency, they don't exist. Galactic wars do not exist in my existence. Do they exist on different frequencies? Yes. You know, do the dark and the Illuminati exist? On different frequencies? Yes. You know, and good morning, Monique. So will lessons then stop? Well, depends on what frequency you're at. Because lessons really, the lessons will stop when you choose for the lessons to stop, beautiful. And no, come on now, don't be barking, please. The lessons, the initiations will always be present. Will the lessons stop? When the hardcore lessons that you're speaking of, Monique, they will stop when you release the darkness, the condensed light within yourself. When you fully open your heart to and surrender fully to the Creator. When your heart becomes lighter than a feather. When you reach a high enough frequency, you come into a space where the lesson is no longer a lesson because you no longer react. You come into the mastery of self and you choose what you're going to focus on. You command your energy rather than your emotions command your energy. And those that come into your experiences, you know, instead of them coming into again, this is that contrast. Instead of them coming in to deliberately trigger you, now they come in for an initiation, if you will. Now they come in to either for your guidance, because they've been guided to you, and that triggers a whole lot of, for the person who's come to you, that will trigger a whole lot within them to look at. And for you, the higher frequency you evolve to, those initiations really are just experiences for you to master your energy even more, you know, or it's initiations showing you, you know, where you are at in your mastery, if you will, for graduation, for new position within yourself, if you will. And, you know, for those of us that have embraced the solar Christ consciousness and have embraced the galactic side of us, you know, those of us who have chosen galactic missions versus those who have not, you know, it's a unique individual experience. It's a unique individual journey. That's why everybody is at different frequencies on different timelines. You can be living with me or your lover, your spouse, you know, they're not seeing the same thing you're seeing necessarily. And they can be on a different timeline than you're on a different timeline. You know, you can step on a piece of glass, but they don't see the broken glass at all. And so, in this time of, that's why everything is fluid. To live through the Christ consciousness, to live as Jesus did. You come to a space in the higher frequencies you go to that you accept all. You accept everything. It is what it is, what it is. You don't have an emotional attachment to it. You don't. All you do is you observe it. And most of this stuff you don't even observe unless you put yourself into that frame of energy, that frame of oh, look it. I don't know if you can see him, but what Snoopy is barking at over there, I don't know if you can see him. But right over here, there's two deer. That's what he's barking at. It's the two deer over there. Snoopy, leave him alone. Come here, baby. Maybe you guys can see him a little closer if I walk a little closer. And so that's why it's not that we're cold. It's not that dark doesn't exist. Because you can't have light without darkness. But it becomes defined different. See, look at, can you see him now? Over here. I don't know if you can see him back over by those cars, but they're right over there. Come on, Snoopy, leave the deer alone. And so, sweet ones, again, that's a judgment within ourselves. And good morning, Ishta. How y'all doing? Big hugs and blessings. And so, Monique, to answer your questions, your lessons will continue as long as you look at them as lessons. When you can observe them and look at it from a different space of lens, look at it instead of lessons, look at it as opportunities to evolve yourself higher, you will also find that and discover that when you change the frequency of your perception, instead of looking at it as lessons, look at it as opportunities, you're going to expand your observational lenses, and you're going to be able to clear and choose to neutralize and harmonize that experience much more graceful. And again, the higher in frequency you go, the more you neutralize and zero point it, not only does it fade away, fall away, disappear, dissolve, disintegrate, whatever label you want to give it, from your experience, you also remove it from the cellular memory imprint, and you change that imprint. And that truly is the darkness that we all speak of. Darkness, everything is interrelated, interconnected. And darkness, just as the truth is as fluid as the emotional frequency you maintain and the frequency you're at. Snoopy, leave that poor deer alone. Come on now. Let them just be. You will find that dark also changes in definition and is as fluid as the emotional frequency you maintain. And the frequency you're at. Your emotions can dictate to you every initiation, every lesson, every experience you're going to have. And the higher and again, the more you neutralize and harmonize the darkness in your hearts, the wounds, the pains, the memories, the more you come to a space where darkness, you come into understanding that it's no longer good and bad, positive, negative, dark and light. It's no longer they're evil and I'm good. There's no longer any of that duality mindset. It comes into a polarity of contrast. And when you come into those frequencies where it becomes contrast rather than duality, you're laying the borders down. You're laying the walls that you have. You're allowing yourself to be accepting of whatever experience another is participating in. You become accepting of their choices because you come to a space where the outside world does not dictate your happiness. And that is where we're evolving to. In every given experience, in every breath, in every moment, that's where you're evolving to. That's where everything is no longer duality. It's where your truth is not an absolute anymore. Because you come to understand that the only absolute is peace. And you get to peace through love. You don't get to it through fear. And so you also discover that is why so many of your relationships change. That's why so many people fall away. You know, there are many who on the spiritual journey get caught up in the ego mind programming. They get lost in it because they raise themselves to a certain frequency. And again, the higher you raise yourself in frequency to, the deeper within the layers back to your core blueprint that you go. Which means the deeper you go into the wound, into the trigger. And until you get literally back to the purity and the innocence of your blueprint, your soul blueprint. And why have your journeys been so challenging this time? Why have you suffered so much? Why have you experienced so much trauma in this lifetime? Because your soul knows that this was an ascension lifetime. And your soul chose, rather than continuing for another 26,000 year cycle of being in the lower frequencies, your soul chose to ascend, which means this lifetime was the last lifetime, an opportunity that you had to neutralize and 0 point everything in your cellular memory imprint. Anything and everything that was experienced in the cube of the 3D matrix. And so that's why your journeys here in this lifetime have been full of abuse, have been full of corruption. Because corruption, the higher frequency you go to, sweethearts, you're going to find this corruption and everything with the government and everything no longer exists. In the higher frequencies, all this is done. That's why I've said, for so many of them that have come to me on this RV and stuff, it's a frequency. The RV's been released. In the higher dimensional frequencies, this stuff on this physical plane that you're going through, you're observing, you're experiencing, does not exist. Because in the higher frequency you rise to, again, it falls away and all you see is beauty. All you see is love. Yes, you see contrast. But you don't see it and observe it the way the human aspect of your physical vessels see it. They don't, in the higher frequencies, you don't. The Cabal and the Illuminati are no more. It literally is the frequency you hold within you that is dictating your outer experience. And if you are still getting upset by Trump, if you are still seeing corruption, if you are still observing suffering, lack, that is showing you as a tool where you still hold condensed light, or what everyone calls darkness. And if you cannot face your own darkness, you cannot transmute it to light. And your body, to ascend with the planet, has to become lighter than a feather. And your heart has been weighed against a feather, and will always be weighed against a feather. Because all dark is, this is just a frequency. All darkness is condensed light. It's not evil. And the more you heal within, the more you transform your own darkness within, your own beliefs, your own walls, your own wounds, you will find that separation, racism, prejudice, walls, borders, creeds, cultures, countries, they fall away, and you don't see that person from India, from Australia, from Africa is being 4,000, 5,000, 10,000 miles away from you. Because it's all here in one moment, in moment by moment. You come to a space where you see the divinity and the glory and the holiness in all beings, because you do not see the skin color. You do not see the star race. You do not see the creeds. You do not see the labels. What you see is the energy. You come to a space like I say, I see energy first. I see light particles every moment. I can manipulate the light particles. And that's the frequency you're coming to. And many of us are there. And so, does that make us better? No. It just shows that we've done a hell of a lot of inner work to raise our frequency. Because even though we're here on missions, even though, like for myself, whereas you guys incarnated into this, I walked into it. I walked into this vessel. And does that have advantages? Yes. Does it have disadvantages? Absolutely. Absolutely. But it's all magical. It's all glory. It's all, you know, my mission, me walking into this vessel, my mission is galactic. You know, not most of yours are not galactic. And, you know, I came here, you know, that's why so many people, I come from the blue rays. You know, I am from the beginning of creation. Not everybody goes back that far. And, you know, so my mission is not going to be the same as a Palladian's mission. It's not going to be the same as an Arcturian's mission. And does that mean that I'm different than the Arcturians or Palladians? It's helpful to understand that in your DNA, you're all of them. There is no separation. We hold, in your DNA, you hold every DNA from every star nation. That's why we say, you know, you are the reptilians, you are the archons, you are the cabal, because, again, you take all the fragments, you take the 7.8 billion souls, beings, you take every tree, animal, insect, you know, whatever it may be, element. When you take away this physical vessel, the physical body, what you label dark, what you label cabal, what you label archons, everything becomes energy. Because it's only in the physical plane that there's labels and definitions. Everything else just is. Outside of this space and time realm. Yes, Monique, I'm a walk-in. I walked into this vessel on April 25th, 2014 at 5:44 Mountain Time. And so, you come to a space, sweet ones, where you come to the understanding that everything has darkness, because in order to have light, you had to have darkness. Darkness is not the evil, the enemy. Darkness is the wounds. It's the hurts. Monique, I'm from 175 million years in the future, beautiful. It's helpful to understand you're all from the future. Maybe not as far from in the future as I am. Maybe some of you are even farther. But it's helpful to understand that each of you, and again, this goes back to this lifetime being so challenging, so dramatic, so traumatic, is because, again, you came back from the future, you're watching and experiencing your spiritual childhood giving you the opportunity to neutralize and to harmonize and to 0 point all of your miscreations. And the more you resist yourself, the more you resist anything and anyone outside of you, the more you resist facing your own wounds and allowing yourself to be in that denial. And that's what these energies right now, leading up into the equinox, is all about. It's really bringing up where, Snoopy, no, here, go. Is really bringing up this self-deception within yourselves, where you are still denying that your ego is running the show, that the mind-controlled ego, and you know, people are saying, well, you have to have an ego. On your journey, you come to understand there's the mind, the ego mind, and then there's the brain. Now, the ego mind is what has been manipulated, and that is what you've been enslaved under. Now, when you operate through your heart, you have been programmed and frequency manipulated. Your mind has. Your subconscious. And when they did that, there are 7 brains within your heart, and there are 7 hearts within your brain. Now, mind you, the brain and the mind are 2 different things. Humanity has lived in this 3D matrix cube grid. Humanity has lived in a space where they live through their ego mind, not their brain. They were manipulated to a 2-strand DNA through activating the 7 hearts within the brain, which brought on the programming of the ego mind. Rather than activating the 7 brains in the heart, they inverted it, or we inverted it for this experience. And this is an experiment, guys. And when you higher in frequency you go, you come to understand it. This is an experiment, just like the new grid is an experience. That's why we're creating it, we're building it as we go. And you're coming into a space, the more you heal within, the more you observe the judgments, the programming from the ego mind, you come into a space, the more you heal your heart, the walls, the more darkness you release and transform to light in your heart. And the more you lay down your weapons, and the more you lay down the fight, the more you allow yourself to become vulnerable and to follow that passion regardless of what the outside world and your family and everybody else dictates to you. The more you release that from in your heart, you activate the 7 brains in the heart, which override the inverted activations of the mind programming AI, the artificial intelligence. When you activate those 7 brains in the heart, you have been living from a left brain existence. When you override the artificial intelligence, the ego mind, you activate those 7 brains in the heart. You activate the brain here in the heart, it overrides the heart that was activated in the mind programming. You come to a space where when you come into, and that's why, again, everything is interconnected. This ties into this twin flame phenomenon that has been so distorted. Everybody thinks they've met their twin flames, yada, yada, yada. You cannot come into that frequency of sacred union without, until you reach it within. And the only way you can reach it with and I say that because so many are convinced that they've met their twin flame, they've met their soulmate, and it's really helpful to understand, again, there's 7 layers, there's 7 levels to that, and there's 7 layers in each level of that mission, if you will, because it is a mission. It's not a romantic love story like everybody's convinced it is. And how it's tied into that is because until the 7 brains are activated in the heart and have overrode and overwritten, if you will, the activations of the 7 hearts in the brain, which created the artificial intelligence mind programming, or the ego mind programming, you cannot balance the right and left aspects of your brain, which is the sacred union. It's a sacred union this way, and it's a sacred union this way, and it's a sacred union this way, or rather this way. And until you can come into full sacred union within you, you are not going to manifest the divine consort in the physical. In that sacred union, you are manifesting a false identity twin flame lesson. That's why it's called a flame, not the consort. And there's, again, a lot of misconception out there. But for the human mind aspect of it, everybody calls it a twin flame. It's called a stairway to heaven. It's called Jacob's ladder for a purpose, because it's not a straight walk. You walk up, you walk down, you walk up, you walk down, you walk up, you walk down, until you have complete balance between above and below. Because until you have reached neutrality and harmonization in 0 point above and below, in the past and the future into the present, the cross within you, the X within you. And it don't matter on all planes of existence. When you come into that harmonization, all meeting points are right here. All meeting points are God. And all meeting points happen on the physical plane. Heaven is not a place, it's a frequency. Just as hell is. You will continue to live in the frequencies in hell, of the abyss, until you face the darkness within your hearts, within your soul, the soul wounds which can only be reached through the heart. Healed through the heart, let me restate that. Because they're reached in every given observation outside of you. But until you face it, you go within, you will not find the love outside of you. You will not find happiness. You will not find peace. And you will not experience heaven on earth. Because your heart has to be fully opened and surrendered to Spirit. You, as you return, as you release the darkness within your hearts and allow yourself to become transparent in light, that is the only way to experience heaven on earth. As above, so below. As within, so without. Good morning, Rose. Good morning, Alice. Good morning, Jen. Well, the thing is Jen, the experiences that you have had, sweethearts, the romantic experiences, yada, 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 that you have experienced up until this point, until this space, are no comparison to the divine consort union. And again, it is the mind programming that will convince you that you're a twin. It's the mind programming that will convince you you are in sacred union. But if you're still being triggered, if you feel a sexual need for gratification in the physical, if that becomes your focus when you meet somebody that their energy Twitter pates your heart, it's not your twin. Why do I say that? Because when the divine consort, the true, and I say that, the true divine consort, because there are every experience you have with any kind of intimate relationship holds and part of an energy signature that will lead you to your divine consort. And that's why they feel familiar. Because the more you heal, and again, it's all layers, it's all levels. You begin to heal it here, and you let go of that experience. You raise yourself to another frequency. So now you're going to cross paths with somebody. That's why so many people say that was your false twin. That was your false twin. Well, no, that's your true twin in that moment, in that frequency. Because that twin flame was there to trigger you. It was a lesson. And every single one are lessons until you are complete and whole within here and have no wounds from the past. Because only then are you able to come into that full, heavenly, holy, sacred union without. And for the majority of humanity, they're not there. They've convinced themselves it's their twin, that it's their divine consort. And when you come into union, whether it's in the astral, whether it's in the physical manifestation, when you come into the presence, if you will, I'm not even going to use the word union, I'm going to change that. When you come into that energetic presence, it's calm. There is not, oh my God, I've met my twin, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. There is none of that. That is strictly ego mind programming. It is a calmness. It is a peacefulness. It is complete, absolute harmony and peace and calm. When you come into the true, full, energetic imprint, blueprint of the divine consort. Now, through your experiences, you're going to find, if you have just started your journeys in the past year and a half, 2 years, it's not your twin, it's a lesson. And even though it seems very real, very hurtful, very this, very that, they carry part of that energy to preparing you to come into union when you reach that frequency. So if you're still going through spacious, sweethearts, where you're going through this runner-chaser phenomenon, experiences where you are still being triggered tremendously, and you know, you're still breaking up in relationships and you're going back and forth, it's a lesson, sweet ones. It's not your twin. But I feel him. Do you know how many people come to me saying, I feel my twin. I know that this is what this heart activation is all about. It's my twin being activated. No, it's you being activated. Again, there's nothing outside of you. There's not one being outside of you. Not one. If you are being triggered in any way, shape, or form, if you still have any judgments against the masculine or feminine, if you still see skin color, racism, prejudicism, if you have not balanced the masculine and feminine within yourself, if you still reject any part of your masculine and feminine within yourself, it's not your twin. It's not your divine consort. It's a lesson. I'm dealing with that here, you know, with my visitors. And, you know, one of them completely rejects. And yet they think they're in a twin flame union. It's a lesson. Because until you can become whole in here, until you can balance and come into sacred marriage in here, you're not going to find it out here. Because it won't be that holy union that you want. It won't be that calm, peaceful, harmonized existence with each other. And that's where a lot, even in the higher frequencies you rise to, you can be you're in constant contact with the divine consort in every given moment. Within. And the beauty of it, the higher in frequency you rise to, those experiences, and usually they're repeat with, you go through 3 major ones, if you will. Relationships, experiences, with three beings, if you will. Because really there's, 3 and 7 is crucial to everything. And leading you to, I have a face of a 4-year-old kid, oh, bless your heart, Ishta. You come into your experiences through your journey. They're going to activate those relationships. And it could have been a marriage partner from 20 years ago. But there's going to be 3 that are really going to hit you hardcore, if you will. And the back and forth. And every time they come back, you're triggered even deeper. It's really helpful to understand the higher in frequency you rise to, sweet ones, the more you harmonize and balance and 0 point the wounds within your heart. That those experiences of those relationships, if you will, that seem so real, like the twin flame, that yada yada yada, that they do become more intense the higher in frequency you go when you cross the paths of these. But again, that's because they all carry an energetic frequency. Everything is a trinity within a trinity within a trinity. A layer within a layer within a level within a level within a level. A polarity within a polarity within a polarity. In everything. Again, use the example. You have 7 brains within the heart and 7 hearts within the brains. And when those activate, you activate more and more of your 12-strand DNA, your original. But the more DNA you activate, again, the more you have to clear. And evolution is never ending and never beginning. It is constantly evolving. And that's the beauty of it. That's the magic of the experiences. That's the magic of what you're observing outside of you. And if you really allow yourself to observe, sweethearts, you will discover that you literally, the higher in frequency you go, allow yourself to evolve to, you can literally watch not just this physical timeline, what you physically see with the tangible 5 senses, if you will. You will discover, if you observe, what may not seem like anything looks different. Things are becoming brighter. Your experiences are not as long, if you will. They're not lasting as long, rather. They're where what used to piss you off with your girlfriend and you would, or somebody who you got into. Hey, now, come on. Hey, be nice, Tony. That you got into a tiff with. Back and forth, that triangle, because you're all finding yourselves in love triangles in some way or another, especially those that are going through the spiritual journey because of this twin flame distortion phenomenon. It really creates a lot of divorces and whatnot, but everything is as it should be. But my point is this: you will discover that all of it changes. Good morning, Michael. Good morning, Sharon. And it's not, they don't last as long. The traumatic experiences don't last as long. The higher in frequency you rise to, because you come more into an expanded version of yourself. You can see different layers of dimensions. You can see parallel timelines. You can see it all as now, and you can literally, you come into a space where you choose what you want to experience. You wake up in the morning, and the first thing you do when you open your eyes is you give great gratitude for the miracle of this now moment. You become to a space where gratitude literally becomes your life. You come to a space where You wake up in the morning, you thank yourself, you thank your team, you thank the Creator, you thank the Creator for the honor of being here. And that's a good word, Monique. So our recovery is kind of faster, absolutely. What seems like you're consistently repeating experiences. Good morning, Ann. Big hugs and blessings, beautiful. You're constant, I thought I dealt with this. I thought I dealt with this. Right now, especially, what's coming up is a lot of ancient memories. Now, again, it's really this lifetime, you guys chose it to be this challenging because you had one lifetime to go, and so all of that neutralization, karmic energy, imprints that have not been neutralized in all your past lives, your ancestors' lives, you chose to neutralize it and harmonize it, not only for yourself, but for the generational ancestry. And so, yeah, this life has been challenging. Yes, it's been abusive. Yes, it's been traumatic. But you chose it. We're the best of the best. And whether you remember that or not, it's okay. It don't matter. And because you will. And it's not, again, why can't I remember my dream time? Why can't I remember my past lives? Why? That is strictly the ego mind programming. Your spirit don't need to know why. It already does. That's why we say, go within. Stop listening to everybody out here telling you that you have to do this, you have to do that. I know sometimes my words come across like that, but I'm really not trying to tell you guys to do anything. It's not my place. But just as it's not none of our places to tell you what to do, we can guide you, we can explain to you what's going on. We can plant a seed, we can lead you to water to drink it. We cannot make you drink it. We cannot make you nurture it. We cannot make you accept the truth of seed that we have planted, the seed of truth that we have planted. We can show you, we can guide you through our own experiences, our own frequency. But you have to be willing to do the work. You have to want to. You know, sure, you may have part of the energetic signature of Sananda, Jesus, Mother Mary, you know, Moses, it don't matter. Archangel Michael, this, that, or the other. But you cannot come into complete compatibility, complete merging, complete anything, and embody that aspect, if you will, until you heal yourself. You know, you cannot come into full embodiment with yourself until you rise to that frequency. And if you cannot face yourself, if you cannot look in the mirror and face your own demons, your own Satan, your own ugliness, your own judgments, your own opinions, your own walls, your own skeletons, your own untruths, you're deceiving yourself. And that is what these energies are bringing up, is showing you where you still live through the ego mind manipulation, where you are not embracing all aspects of self, because everything is just a fragment of the one. That's why there is no darkness, there really is no duality, it's just contrast. And that goes with in your relationships too. If your relationships are not maintained, if you're not experiencing a maintaining of a harmonious, peaceful, loving, blissful relationship in the physical outside world, it's because you are imbalanced within. It has nothing to do with the outside. Because when you come into that union, that sacred union, you don't see good or bad. You don't see right or wrong. Again, no. We're not playing hide and seek under my blanket. Thank you. Here, go get it. My dogs like to do that. They like to play hide and seek under my blanket. I got Tony who crawls under the blanket, and then Snoopy sits there and pretends he's finding him. I'm telling you, animals are amazing. We are amazing. And we're magical. Now, see, look at him. They're so cute. Good morning, Crystal. Good morning, Dion. Good morning, Rose. Big hugs and blessings. Good morning, Kimberly. Big hugs and blessings. So, sweet ones, everything in every given moment is perfect. It's by perfect... No, come on now. No, come on now. It's by perfect design, but it was perfectly designed by you. And when you can come to that space of acceptance and say, okay, what is this showing me? Go play. Go get it. Thank you. You come to that space where you observe where... You want to say hi? You want to say hi? You come to that space where... You want to say hi, Tony? You come to that space where you see it for contrast. You don't see it as somebody's doing something to me to hurt me. You know, you don't see it as separation. You don't sit there and put yourself into a space because, you know, you find yourself into a space and you don't like that your own darkness is being triggered, and so you shut yourself off. Because the second you shut yourself off, you stop yourself from your journey until you learn that lesson. You can still do your inner work, but you're not going to move forward in your journey until you deal with that level, that layer within that level. Because every level of frequency you evolve to, you fall back down to deal with those imprints that are present at that frequency. And until those are harmonized and balanced and neutralized to 0 point, you cannot move to the next layer within that level of frequency, and you cannot move into evolve to a higher frequency. So if you shut yourself off, you put up a wall because you don't like what is being shown you, you have just stopped yourself from evolving higher in frequency until you deal with that darkness within your heart. That's how you come into able to observe just where things are at. And that's the beauty of your journey. So allow these ancient things, because again, so many of you have rose up and dug very deep, and you're returning to the purity of your innocence, which means you're returning yourself back to, we're getting to the very bottom part of the soul trauma of the 3D matrix that's being released. So this is the ancient energies coming up to be neutralized and harmonized. These are the very deep karmic energies within the planet that she's releasing. And, you know, that part of that journey for those who have chosen to ascend with the planet is coming to 0 point. In each of you're about have your motherboard you about have your motherboard cleared fully, as you're almost completely fully anchored your light body, if you will, into the new grid. For some of you, it's not like that, but for those who are ascending with the planet, that's where we're at. And that's why this, you know, the 22nd, 23rd is that cutoff date. There's no turning back at that point. And because you have reached a space collectively, for those that are choosing to ascend with the planet, collectively you have reached a space where you're moving into that dimensional frequency. And those who cannot face themselves will continue experiencing what they need to experience to evolve. You're going to find that's why so much more is going to fall away. And it becomes contrast for you. You're going to discover, going to the end of this, the last few months of this year and going forward, you're going to discover that you're going to observe the morphing more and more. So it's not that we don't care. It's not that we seem cold. It's not that we're not showing compassion because we're not all over you because you're upset. That we aren't all over you, pampering you and babying you because you're crying. It's because that's not what we observe. We observe energy. We know how to go behind the scenes and transmute the energies. And so it's all about acceptance and love, sweet ones. Loving yourself through whatever arises, allowing yourselves to choose what you experience, and when it pops back into your experience, not in my world, it doesn't exist. Nope, see ya. Push it right back out. You come into those masters. You come in to see everything as opportunities. And the higher frequency you come to, the more, especially right now, the more that you're releasing right now of these ancient wounds. The more of this you're going to get blissful. Yes, this freedom ride is intense. But it's also very, very, very magical. And it is a dance. And you're coming into a space where you're not stumbling as much anymore. That you're actually starting to tango really good, to cha-cha really good. Now you're coming into the mastery classes rather than the beginner classes, And that's the beauty of this. Even though it's intense, those intensities and everything don't last as long. Because you recognize them for what it is. And for those that come into your presence, that try to bring you down because they don't want to deal with their own issues, not in my world. Push them out. And love them through it and hold space. That's what we do. You don't have to interact. Sorry, universe. Sorry, self. Sorry, ego. I love you, but I'm done with this paradigm, this timeline. A paradigm is a lesson, Sri One. Initiation, however you want to look at it. Yeah, well, I'm done with this experience. I'm done with this paradigm collapse, universe. And then we're going to work on collapsing the timeline. Take what you want, leave what doesn't work, Sri Ones. Simple as that. You can either allow the ego mind programming to master you and control you, or you can be the fearless warrior that you are and you can face your own darkness. And you can transmute it to light and raise yourself in frequency. And the more you do that, the more you balance yourself within and face your own inner wounds rather than shut them out and ignore them and deny them and deceive yourself, the more you're going to become lighter than a feather, and the more you're going to experience heaven on earth. But if you deny any aspect of yourself, If you continue to bury anything that you don't want to deal with and chalk it up to, well, I don't have to deal with it, you're going to keep experiencing it. Because the only way you can go into full light body and anchor it into the fifth dimensional grid is to become that light body. And the only way you can become that light body is to release the darkness within your heart. Simple as that. So, love yourself through it. Allow yourself to let go of the definitions, of the labels, of the why, how, when, where. Allow yourself to surrender. And you will find getting through these intense times right now will become much more graceful. And if you allow yourselves to observe, you will see with your physical senses where the person next to you is caught up in the physical world and you don't see or have the experiences that they're having or they're seeing. You don't see that. You see the energy behind it. But you're not going through those experiences. You can come to a space like myself where you don't see form, you see energy. And you can push that, change it, push it away, whatever you want to do. You know? But until you deal with the wounds in your heart and all that stuff, you shut down. You deny. You don't deal with. Until you deal with it, you're not going to experience that next level of bliss and paradise. And that's what this is showing us. Showing you exactly where you're still holding on to artificial intelligence. You're still allowing the ego to control. Because as long as you allow the ego to control in any way, shape, or form, you're stopping yourself from ascending into full light body. And thank you so much. You are a beautiful doll. Thank you for helping all. You explain so amazing. Big hugs and blessings, beautiful. Thank you for that. It's not easy for the human aspect to understand it, let alone understand it. You know? And that's a gift I have. Is decoding the layers within the layers, within the levels, within the levels. You know, I'm a seer beyond seers. I'm a wisdom keeper. And I'm a seer beyond words of words and worlds of worlds. And not everybody has the gift that I have. But I don't see form. I see codes. I see numbers. You know? I see energies. I see blueprints. And I don't see it how you guys see it. I see it from a whole lot of expanded versions and a whole lot of dimensions and timelines, and what you see is just this experience. I see all dimensions of yourselves. I see all aspects of yourself in every direction, every energetic imprint. And it's really hard for many people to be in my physical presence because they don't like what my light brings up in them. You put a higher frequency to a lower frequency and it's gonna bathe that lower frequency and bring all that darkness up to be dealt with. And many people can't handle my frequency. It makes for a lonely existence. But I got my team. That's why I spend so much time in solitude. And those that come in my presence, I sit there and I transmute a lot of their dark energies because they refuse to look at it themselves. You're coming over? Bring sunshine, bring magic, bring balloons, bring glitter. And so, sweet ones, it's really helpful to understand in this space right now. Come on over, bring a tent. In this space right now, it is what it is. And right now, there's no more riding the fence. You're either going to deal with your darkness, you're going to deal with what's within, or you're going to continue into the reincarnation karmic cycle until you deal with it. Simple as that. You know, it don't matter what energetic signature you carry. If you cannot balance and harmonize and heal yourself within, you cannot step in and embody that signature. You know, if your sole purpose is to be commander, you know, but you're not doing the inner work, regardless, you can't step into being a commander if you're not even willing to look at, to do the inner work of yourself. You know, I'm one of the highest ranking commanders on this earth shit. I couldn't do my job if I wasn't neutralized and harmonized within myself and at the frequency to do that job. Do I go back and tell everybody I'm a high-ranking commander? No, I don't need to. I'm very well aware of who and what I am. My greatest aspiration is for you all to become a reflection of my love versus a keeper of my heart. And that's why I keep telling you, each of you, I am just your heart. I am a hologram of the love in your heart, the beauty in your heart. You chose for me to be here in this moment, in this time, in your experience. And on that note, feel the magic. I love you, sweet ones. Have a happy Sunday. And know within here that you got this. You know, some of us have come back, literally, just to be here, to hold your hand, and to love you through it, to hold space for you, and to give you loving energies so you know you're not alone. Some of us are here just to love and be that love. And that's the beauty of this. Because you really are becoming a reflection. Where's that light coming from? On my head. You see that light on my head? I don't know where, that one, I don't know where it's coming from. Because I'm sitting in I've shut my lamp off. I'm sitting in a darkened room. That is a trip. Thank you, Creator. And the sun comes in through my window over there. And that's not where that light's coming from. That's kind of a trip. I love the magic of the Creator. Because the sun isn't even up yet. Coming through the window, see? That's a trip. Thank you, Creator. Have a great day, sweet ones. I love you. Big, big, big hugs and blessings. And no, you got this. It's just contrast. Trying to manipulate itself as darkness and separation and duality. You're ready for the light, Rose? You already are the light. You've just forgotten that. So it's just all about remembering, sweet ones. And remembering that you're not the ego, the control, the manipulation, the wounds. You are just energy of love and magic. So have a great day. I love you guys. Bye-bye now. Big, big hugs and blessings.